Welcome to the Rookie Analyst Excel Course series. Today, we embark on our first lesson, delving into the fundamentals of data analysis. Data, data, data. I can't make bricks without clay. These words were not uttered by any tech CEO, but rather by the renowned fictional detective Sherlock Holmes, long before the inception of many of today's tech giants. And it emphasizes a fundamental truth, which is data is the bedrock of analysis. Data is like clay for building analytical insight. As Sherlock Holmes aptly put it, without data, we are left with little or nothing to work with, and our ability to make informed decisions is seriously limited. From this powerful quote, we can deduce that the significance of data and also the fact that data is the building block, just as a sculptor shapes clay into a masterpiece or an architect constructs a building with bricks. So data analysis craft insights, strategies, and solutions from data, and then make informed decision, thereby making causing progress in the industry. So, and another thing is that every data has a value, like every data point has a value. So whether it's numbers, text, images, or any kind of metadata, it definitely has an information, and that information has to be extracted. And then for you to extract that, you have to get the data, clean the data, transform the data, visualize it before you can make any informed decisions. So this serves as a fundamental, serve as a fundamental ideology that is going to guide us through making a data-driven decision. The analogy from the Sherlock Holmes quotes provides a backdrop for understanding the nature of data. Now let's delve into what data analysis truly is. Many people often think that data analysis is just all about collection of facts. But the truth is, data analysis is so much more. As a data analyst, what really then is data analysis? So to simply put, it is the collection, transformation, and organization of data with the aim of achieving or drawing conclusions, achieving results, drawing conclusions, making predictions, and extracting meaningful insights that would inform a decision that will be made. And in turn, that decision will cause an impact. That is what data analysis is. So now, as we embark on this course, remember that data is not just a collection of numbers. It is the cornerstone of your journey into the world of data analysis. This implies that data is your clay, your bricks, your fundamental resource, and you have to embrace it, learn from it, and most importantly, use it to build a deeper understanding of the world around you. So the role of data analysis in decision making cannot be overemphasized. Hypothetically speaking, we could have examples of a company, let's say Tip Top Taste Restaurants. And then as a rookie analyst, you try to identify the trends and pattern of the customer behaviors that buys pizza, for instance. So this is going to lead to increased sales and customer satisfaction if we're able to identify that customer behavior, because it's going to inform the decision of the CEO or the marketing managers or the stakeholders of Tip Top Taste Restaurant. Next, imagine that Tip Top Taste Restaurant has diversified into a supply chain management or any other form of logistic company. So you can leverage data analysis to optimize the supply chain process, which will in turn result in saving costs like cost optimization and also increase the mileage in terms of the last mile delivery of items. So these are hypothetical examples of the role of data analysis are in decision making. I will make use of the TikTok test. But now I want to shock you with an outstanding real world scenario. So sometimes ago, the iconic monuments in Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, which happens to be my alma mater, or rather my first alma mater. So the iconic monument was replaced with a stunning new one, which is truly beautiful. But the public and the stakeholders cherish the original one because it holds a special spot in the heart of um, everyone because of the history and then because it's been there for long. So it's historic, it's iconic. So they cherish the original one. So to make this decision, data analytical skills was employed. And as a result, the beloved old monument was restored. And the interesting thing about this is the fact that it only takes the strategic committee that was set up to use the survey monkey technique, which is simply setting up surveys, collecting the information. And the most inspiring thing about this real world example is the fact that over 90% of the respondents are in support of bringing back the old monument and are also willing to contribute towards it. So from this, we can see that data analysis can be used to improve decision-making accuracy, to increase efficiency and productivity, and to better achieve targets and also meet with customer insights. You can use it as a competitive advantage. You can use it to improve market position if you're in sales. You can use it to save cost for your company and even to optimize resources. So now let's take a break from trying to understand what data analysis is, and let's write a letter to your future. So usually I do this a lot. So I go to www.futureme.org, and once you go there, you see this. So I usually write a letter to myself. Usually, if I have a target or I have something I want to do maybe in the next 3 weeks or 1 month or 2 years, I write a letter to myself to motivate myself. And this letter is going to be delivered to me on that date. So we expect that by November 25th, we'll be having probably the last session of this course with our project, capstone project, and all of that. So here I am writing, pouring my heart to you. So I'm writing a letter to the future us. So I want you also to head over there, write a letter, put your email address, and it's going to be delivered to you. Okay, so let's go back to understanding what data analysis is. So right now we're going to try to understand what the types of data analysis. There are many types of data analysis, but here I'm presenting 4 main types of data analysis for you. So this is a beginner course or to enhance our skills. So we are not going to waste much time on the theories and also the concept, but in as much as we don't want to waste time on it, it's also important for us to have the understanding of the processes and some basic techniques or basic concepts of data analysis, because it's going to help us in making those analysis and also report. So here now, let's consider an e-commerce company. Let's say Tip Top Hamza, or let's say Tip Top Fashion, for instance. So it's an e-commerce company. So now we use it to briefly explain this type of data analysis. So the e-commerce company will make use of descriptive analysis to understand what happened. What happened in the sense of what? In the sense of the sales for performance last quarter, for instance. So it includes data like total sales, average order value, and top selling products. This analysis helps in creating dashboards with historical data. Next, Tip Top Fashion could also make use of the diagnostic analysis, which delve deeper into understanding the cause of past events. So this is more concerned with why did it happen? So whatever happened in the past has happened. So, but why did it happen? So Tip Top Fashion uses diagnostic analysis to find out why sales declined in the last quarter, or why sales was improved, or was great, or was massive, so that they could try to mimic the same thing that caused increased sales. And if it is reduced sales, how will they increase the sales? So it might reveal issues like decreased market effort. Maybe the marketing team have reduced efforts, or there's a shortage of staffs, or supply chain disruption that led to low sales, or what have you. So next, TikTok Fashion could make use of predictive analysis, which uses historical data to forecast about the future event. So imagine you writing a letter to your future. So now instead of writing a letter to your future using what we are doing today, which is the data analysis course, you write a letter to your future. Now bring it to predictive. You are making use of information you have today, information you have yesterday, and every other days in the past, and you are using it to predict what the future can be. For instance, a sales company, or let's continue using Tip Top Hamza company, which is Tip Top Fashion. So let's imagine that they already have 100,000 sales in the last 4 years, and then they want to set a budget for marketing with respect to next 3 years, and they want to increase the sales from 100,000 to 400,000. So predictive analysis is going to help them do that. It's going to help Tip Top Fashion to forecast about the future events. So it employs predictive analysis to predict sales for the next quarter by considering factors like seasonality, market trends, which is the sales of $100,000 in the last quarter, and then it can even estimate future sales figures and even prepare you accordingly for any unforeseen circumstances. So the last here on my screen is a prescriptive analysis, which goes beyond prediction to providing recommendations on actions to take. These are more kind of succinct. They are more kind of how will I put it? It's more of exact, more kind of a specific. Yeah, that's the word. It's more specific. So now, in the case of our e-commerce company, which is Tip Top Fashion, so they could employ prescriptive analysis to suggest strategies to boost sales in the next quarter. For example, it might recommend increasing advertising budget or optimizing inventory management, or even something as little as increasing the salaries of staffs. Because sometimes when you motivate your employees, you definitely going to get more from your employees, because a good environment, good management, and it has a direct exponential effect on the success of the company. If the environment is toxic, then the growth is going to be slow. So now, these are the four main types of data analysis, but that does not mean that that's all. There are many other ones like text analysis and all of that, but there's one fundamental important one I would like to mention, which is the exploratory analysis. So this kind of analysis, usually in all of these four types of analysis, you may have to do this kind of analysis. It's just all about you jumping into the ocean without knowing how deep the ocean is. You just want to dive into the data, which is going to be more of what we're going to do in subsequent lessons before the life guided project and then the capstone project. So mostly we'll just dive into and then try to see what we could dig out of a DT data. So this exploratory analysis involves an initial dive into a data to discover patterns, relationships, outliers, anomalies, or in the case of this company, the company may use the exploratory analysis to uncover hidden insights with the sales data. So next, we would like to understand the data analysis process. So depending on the organization tool, there are different processes that has been outlined by different stakeholders in the world of data analysis. But here, for the sake of understanding, I found this one from Google Data Analytics course, found it really more impressive, and then it's from an article that was written by someone on Medium. So I referenced the name, but I think the video is blocking it. So data analysis process. So this 6 data analysis process: ask, prepare, process, analyze, share, acts. You can simply use the acronym APASA if you don't want to forget. But well, as we go into data analysis, you will see that these processes will be part of you. So the first process is ask. So whenever you have a data, it's important you ask questions, because you need to know what you're working with. So you need to ask questions. What kind of data is it? Where was the data collected? You need to define the problem. Apart from, you need to define the problem. Okay, is there something that the manager is looking forward from the data? If the data wanted to forecast, to do sales forecast, so that means the data wants you to do, your manager wants you to do predictive analysis, or you want to do predictive analysis. But if it's just a data and they just, okay, just dive into this data and uncover the data, that's exploratory. So understanding the problem or asking these questions will help you to know what approach or even what tool to use because there are different tools. And sometimes if the data is too large that your spreadsheets could not take it, then definitely it's going to be in the databases. Then you need to use SQL to query these things. So if you don't ask this question, you probably don't know. You need to even understand, are this data in different sources? Do we have maybe sales data from database A, database B, database C? So that you could collect this, and then you could, if you're using Power BI, for instance, you could create a relationship, and then you could be able to analyze this data. Next, you have to prepare data. Preparing a data, especially depending on how dirty the data is more or less like the most tedious part of data analysis, right? So it's the kind of the boring part. If the data is dirty and then it's a whole lot and then it's taking you time, it could get frustrating. But taking a break from it and then doing something else and coming back usually works. So it involves you collecting the data, storing the data, then processing. So the processing rather is the most tedious, not to prepare. But in most cases, the prepare and the processes goes hand in hand. So prepare and process are usually the most tedious part. Because while you're processing the data or you're preparing your data, you already have an idea of the kind of data, you know the kind of things you want to do in the data. By the time you're moving to the first stage, the first process, which is the analyze stage, you already have an idea of what you want to get out of the data. You already have an idea. Do you want to find a pattern? Do you want to relationship, or the data is clean up, you just want to visualize, or you just want to show something, you just want to show a record? So analyzing the data is more interesting. And then part of the analyzing the data is the visualization, which is what you're going to share with your audience. So the visualization is the eureka moment. It's like the wow moment for me mostly, even more than the action on it, because when you are certain that this is what your manager wants, or this is what your stakeholder or your client wants, so even before they act upon it, you're already having that goosebumps. You understand what I'm saying, right? So this is where you have to visualize your data, you have to do reports or dashboards, and then you present the data to your stakeholders, and then they act on it. And that is where they act, and that's where the informed decision makes. So these are the processes. And the another thing I would like to mention before we proceed is the fact that this does not necessarily mean you have to follow from ask, prepare, process, analyze. No, sometimes you may just be given a clean data for you to just visualize. Imagine you're writing a report of maybe a sales report of last year that's already been made. Sales was made 100,000 by 50 customers in 50 locations. So instead of writing it in Word, you could just make a chart to visualize that. So like that is just about sheer, not even really analysis. It's just visualization. So later on, we're going to see data visualization techniques. There's already a video on that, but we're still going to look at data visualization techniques as a means for effective communication. And in subsequent lessons and videos, you'll see how you could even do some visualization from PowerPoint. Like you could bring out Excel from PowerPoint. So you don't have to, and then just enter your data into Excel from within PowerPoint or Microsoft Word, and then you do the visualization and you create and customize a dashboard instead of analyzing another place and bringing the image into Excel, into PowerPoint for your presentation, or into Word for your reports. You could just create your data set from within Word, from within PowerPoint, and you make that chart and then you customize it. So the next thing here is that we're going to explore public databases and data sources. So the first question is, what are databases? Databases are organized repository for storing data, which ensure easy access, management, and analysis. So they are vital for data analysis because they show the effective, they allow efficient and effective handling of data, and they also enable easy extraction of meaningful insight from large data sets. So that's database. And if you are if you want to advance your analytical skills and then maybe into data engineering, all of that, you now start understanding more about the data warehouses and all of that. So in this case, so let's just put it as this. So and then there are public databases for you to explore. There's a lot of them depending on the field of study. So here I just highlight some few ones for you to check. We are going to make use of Kaggle for this Excel series. But for our bioinformatics series, we'll definitely make use more of NCBI or ENCODE because they have the GEO database, the raw database, the data sets that we're going to extract and all of that. So if you want the public ones, you could just go to Google Cloud Public Data Sets. It works well. Kaggle is also a good source. Then for climate data, you go to NCDC or NOAA Dataset Gallery. And then for social or political, the UNICEF State of World's forensic statistic is also there. And these are free databases, but there are also other paid or subscription-based databases like the Statista and what have you. So here we want to understand data collection methods. But before we look at the methods of collecting data, we need to check out some considerations of data collection. Remember, in the previous slides, we've talked about the process of data analysis. We talked about preparing, which involves simply collecting data. And then we now move to database. But sometimes your data are not even a database. You may have to collect the data yourself. So there are considerations that you have to consider. So you have to first consider what is the type of data that you need. You need to select the right type of data. And then while selecting the right type of data, you have to determine the time frame. What duration do you want to see? Do you want to maybe take, for instance, Tip Top Taste Restaurant has been in existence for about 5 years. So do you want to analyze all the 5 years analysis of the 5 years sales record of Tip Top Taste Restaurant, or you just want to take the last year and then you want to do the year to year? So it all depends on you. Or is it that you just want to dive into a more already existing data and then you want to reproduce what has been done, or you want to use it to support your findings? Maybe as a researcher, you want to extract information from the data that has already been done by other people and then to use it to support your own hypothesis. So you have to determine the time frame. So now, while determining the time frame, you have to consider collecting new data or using existing data. If you want to collect new data, that's where you talk about the collection methods. But if you want to use existing data, then you just have to choose your data source. And that's where exploring public databases come from. Where do you want to get the data from? Do you want to get it from already established company? Maybe, for instance, I might decide that, oh, I have a Tip Top Fashion is an e-commerce company, but there are other existing e-commerce company, for instance, in Nigeria, Jumia, Konga, or better still, in the world, maybe like Amazon, AliExpress. I could request for a particular data, for instance, from them, then to be able to get insight. And some of these companies already have some database that is available for public use. So then I would choose if I want to use existing data. But assuming I want to have my own raw insights, so I definitely have to collect a new data. And when I'm collecting new data, I have to decide how the data will be collected. And that's why we'll talk about the data collection method. So here I found a perfect slide for us on the internet, which is well referenced. So is data collection methods. So it has 10 collection methods. But for the scope of this course, we're going to rely on we're just going to make use of the first one, which is forms and questionnaires, and we'll make use of Google Forms. But there are many other ones. The good thing about this is once you understand how one particular forms work, other ones are easy to go. It's just something very easy. We have the type forms, we have Microsoft Forms, we have Heriba, Podia, a lot of them like that. Okay, so these are the data collection methods. We'll have a separate video, or in our live session, we'll see how we're going to create a Google form. But the Google form we're going to create, we're going to have a problem statement, which is what do we want to use the data for. So that will determine the kind of questions we are going to ask in the Google Forms. So stay tuned for that. So now, before we move into data analysis proper, so I would like to tell us something about smart questions. So we need to be able to ask smart questions. It's very important. And asking smart questions, many people often think of smart question as question being asked to, let's say, stakeholders or managers, but you need to ask yourself smart questions. So whether you are an expert or not, without asking the right analysis, your data may be meaningless. So is your analysis. So imagine spending days analyzing data, cleaning data and visualizing, and your manager would, or your client tells you, oh, this is not what I want to see. I want to see something else. And probably what you want to see has already been removed as an unwanted column from the beginning. So you have to go back and start analyzing from beginning. So this happened to a lot of people a couple of times. So it's important to ask smart question. And once we mean smart question, is not smart as smart, but smart as an acronym with S standing for specific. So you need to ask, is the question specific? Does it address the problem? Does it have context? Will it uncover a lot of the information you need? So that's where the S is. So while you have, if you tick that checkbox, then you ask, is it measurable? Will the questions give you answers that you can measure? So if you're taking, I assume that you're taking a 1 or 2 statistical class, you see that there are type of data. We have the qualitative data, and then we have the quantitative data. So the data that can be measured, or numbers, and those that cannot, and all of that. So you need to know, is it measurable? And then, is it action oriented? Will the answer provide information that helps you devise some type of action plan? Then if it does, is it relevant? And amidst all of it, you need to time bound it. There needs to be a time frame. Oh, is it 1 year, 2 years? Assuming you want to get a data, you need to ask questions. Maybe your company wants you to analyze the data, analyze the sales record. That's just a generic request. So you need to ask, is it the sales record for, let's say you are a sales representative with Orange Drugs Limited, so which is one of the leading indigenous pharmaceutical company in Nigeria. I happen to be a sales and marketing supervisor of the company for 2 years. So imagine I'm asked by my supervisor to analyze a data of the sales record of the company. I need to ask, is it for a region? For which territory? Is it for all territories in maybe Lagos State? Or is it for all territories in all states? Or is it for all major branches? Or is it for promos or anything? So that's example of time bound. So you have to time bound these questions because your analysis too will depend on that. So that's about smart question. So the last here in this lesson is for us to have a glimpse of the common problems of a data analysis. So the common problems of data analysis is making prediction. Data analysts use historical data to forecast future trends and outcomes. And they also categorize things into meaningful groups just to make analysis easier. And then they try to identify outliers or anomalies that may indicate error or important insight. For instance, duplicates, null values, and all of that. So now, also identifying themes, they uncover recurring patterns of themes within the data, providing valuable context. And also, they try to find relationship. So see how things are connected to each other. So they try to understand, understand if A is connected to B, or is related to C, or related to D. And lastly, you need to find patterns. So these are common problems that you face. Sometimes you know this is a problem, but you really don't know how to face it. And sometimes it's a problem and you don't even know it's a problem. So this is important. At the early stage now, we expose ourselves to common problems of data analysis so that you have that at the back of your mind. And then the last one is finding patterns. Patterns help analysts understand data trends, which is essential for making informed decisions. And that's it for this lesson. And see you in the next lesson. Thank you for joining.